I want to say on your next episode of Extreme Makeover. but no Extreme Makeover today. Wow. Okay, so we're on YouTube. Okay, good. Terry, how was your weekend?
It's been just a wild ride. It's been
All
lots of
right.
things happening, fun things. Nothing serious, just having fun and enjoying life and being happy and that sort of thing. It's yeah, that's it's good. It's good to we're live today. We haven't done this for
Yeah, we're
a couple of weeks.
actually live. We're
Yeah.
actually live today. Actually, oh my goodness, I better get on and share the link. Yeah, there we go. I got
There
to
we go.
share the link in the group and all so people know. If you are watching, somebody's out there watching. Give us a thumbs up and a comment, possibly, to let us know you're there. Um, I wanted to share some stuff about some videos I watch. You know, those women on The View, God help them.
Yeah.
They really say some things that are ridiculous.
I,
And
I, I will. I'm just gonna say I've seen clips of them. I have never watched a show, and I don't think I'm missing anything.
oh man, it's really
Yeah, I just listening to the clips. They just turn me off. I'm sorry. That's my opinion. If you like them, that's fine. But I don't. Like, is this the way that people really think?
well, it encourages it, doesn't it?
Yeah, it
It
does.
encourages that thought. And this thing about the war of the sexes, is it really a war or is this manufactured? I mean, I know that there's a lot that has had to change in the way men and women treat each other, or even with the way that men treat women, right? We know that. We know that there's been a lot to change. And you got this kind of idea of Rosie the Riveter, and anything you can do, I can do better. I don't necessarily. There's a lot of things I feel like men are just better at.
Yeah.
And women can be great at a lot of things, but it's like,
I,
you know, I'll just go ahead and try to play these clips and then let you see what we're talking about.
I,
'Cause
yeah.
it's really, really.
Yeah.
Uh, Now, how do I do this? every week, y'all. Every week. Is this it? This must be it. Yes, it is. Okay, so then I'll turn on the volume,
Okay.
and you can see it.
Yeah. I watched this last night. Yeah.
Oh, you did? Okay, there it goes.
See it.
Okay.
So yeah.
And then let me find it. The page. I have to find the page. Okay, here it is.
Line of a dozen women being asked the following question: do we need men? Most answered very quickly, no. And only one said she thought women needed a man in their lives, only one. But when men were asked a similar question, do we need women? Most of them said yes. So why do you think that is?
Because men are useless. I mean, love.
So just promoting the idea that men are useless, but in the background you see the job that those men are doing. And I think when I think about that, I think about how, like, when I see men building roads, or even how we had the hurricane and those trucks and trucks, and there might be some women in those trucks, but all those people hauling the trash and the sewage and actually, I've never seen a woman doing the garbage truck either. All all the trash, all the sewage, all the cleanup, I mean, there were giant holes in the ground where the water just collapsed certain things. I've seen men get buried in bridges where I'm from. I've seen men, I don't want to do tar. I don't want to do roof. I don't want to do, it's a lot of stuff I don't want to do. And we've come to a point where now, like, the pioneer days are over. The country has been built, and we're got to the point where we can just be like, I like eggplant or purple or magenta. Like, we've got so much luxury now where we can choose. And so we're in a place of this complacency where there's this thing called the paradox of choice.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to read about this. So there's Maslow's hierarchy of needs. So we're not in a stage of survival. We're in a state of, we're in a higher state. We're in a state of self-awareness where we can discover and do, right?
Right.
Of civilization. We're not in a state of growth. We're actually reaching the maximum where we're about to reach this state of decline. Both of them on both sides, there's hardship.
Right.
And in hardship, we have to work together because it's difficult, right? We got to build, we got to get this food, we got to survive. So we find ways to work together and be cohesive because we're in a state of survival, but now we're in a state of plenty. And I don't know if people have heard of that experiment called the Beautiful Ones, where there was just so much that the mice began to get lazy, they began to get complacent, and so it just changes the way we treat each other. Then there's this thing called the tragedy of commons, which describes the situation where individuals are acting on their own self-interest and deplete shared resources, leaving negative outcomes in the community. In a time of abundance, people may prioritize their individual gain over communal, right? And so I had even seen another video where the woman, she said to other women, I commend you when you get, if you decide to leave your spouse or you decide to, she's talking to married women about telling them that leaving their spouse and choose you over your family, choose you over your kids, basically, because, before people used to say, we're staying together for the kids, but she was saying, I commend you for basically seeking yourself first. And that's called the tragedy of commons. When you have this abundance, now that you got everything that you need, you're like, hey, I'm going to prioritize my own gain over, okay. So then there's this thing called the theory of social capital. And this concept suggests that social networks, relationships, and trust are vital for communities to function. During hardship, social capital tends to increase as people rely on one another, but it may erode during times of plenty because now you just worry about yourself. It's the same thing over and over again, complacency. Then there's cultural amnesia, the phrase that refers to society's gradual loss of collective memory about hardship and values, often occurring during prosperous times when the lessons learned from struggle are forgotten. Now, the one that I liked the most was the paradox of choice. The psychological theory posits that having too many options can lead to anxiety and dissatisfaction. In times of plenty, the overabundance of choices can lead to indecision and lack of fulfillment. And so at one point, I had seen something where it said that women are at the point where because we have so much choice, now we can't really decide what we want because there is plenty, right? And so now we become more choosy, we take longer to make decisions, and when we do make decisions, we're not satisfied because we cannot be satisfied at this point. Just like that story about the lady who went all the way to the 6th floor. It was like, oh, you got a guy with good looks. Oh, you got a guy with good heart and good looks. You got a guy with good heart, good looks, and a job. And like, but she was like, she just kept going, like, more. Maybe it can be better. Maybe it can be better, and can never really be satisfied because we can't really choose. Now, the idea that we don't need one another, but we'd have to think about what women have contributed, what men have contributed. And we can't just start from today. That's like total amnesia. Right. If all we can say is, well, men are angry and men have war and men are just useless. We've just gotten to this time of abundance to say that one person is useless. It's just, I will let you speak on that because you from a later time, but yes, you did hear a peacock just screaming. He's in the backyard right now. But I mean, when you saw your parents, did they relied on one another, right? They
absolutely, I grew up in a small community, kind of on a farming background, and so my mom had her things, my dad had, and they shared. They worked in communion with each other. In the community, we had that. People had, like somebody did this, but there was always a crossover of stuff. But you worked as a community, and I think what that whole woke agenda is pushing, that me, right? Instead of that community based stuff. So it's not only about me. We can be of service to other people, and that can also be, like finding my needs within, still finding that, but forsaking everybody else because I want to have this and this and this because I deserve it. That's self-service. And so I guess it depends on where are we spiritually? What are we part, and I think that's maybe what we have to look at is where are we feeling spiritual, and are we going to step on that path of self-service, or are we looking at, more diverse and where we belong within a society? And, that's everybody's choice, and it's not necessarily to put judgment on it.
Definitely is your choice. If in your life that's how you feel, but we manifest the things that we think about, so we begin to create it. And I noticed this because I saw a woman and she was discussing the fear of relying on her husband, and she was in this state of competitiveness with her husband. The interesting thing was I guess it was a fear of how she felt her mom relied on her husband, or the dad, right? On her dad. And so she feared being in that same place. Because she feared it from the outside, externally, what I witnessed was, okay, so now your husband lost his job because you were thinking like, I must make as much as him so that I can have as much say as him. At some point, he loses his job. So now you don't have to worry about that problem. You've manifested that you are now in control, right? Because you are the only breadwinner. But now you created this new stress where everything relied on you. And I've seen another lady too who was she was worried about her husband. They wanted to buy a new house, but he never said, I need you to put in 50-50. He never was putting that demand on her, but she was just not in a place to do it. And she actually became depressed because she couldn't do it. And I said, why do you feel that way? Because he actually would like to do this for you and help take care of you. Are you not feeling that you're able to be taken care of? I've seen another woman, she was in a state of illness like lupus, and she felt guilt at her husband actually taking care of her or giving to her in that way. And it's sad because I think, yes, we needed to change some things, but it's this thing where things are so far on one side where the man is the dominant figure, when it comes to finances in the home and the decision making, where we went past the middle, where women now feel like, no, I need complete control, or I need more control. And they're actually worrying themselves into a state of, I don't even know what you call it, but it's we're in this dangerous place where we should be like, okay, we fixed it, we're fixing it. And now we're in the middle and we're both okay and we're both happy. But some people have shifted far beyond to the other side, and it's left them actually making themselves feel sick. It's like they're not even able to balance.
Well,
Even
but
50-50 doesn't even work for them.
No. And I think we have to be aware that there is an agenda to make people more, push them in certain ways and make them feel like, oh, well, everybody's saying this, and I guess I should be saying that. You get these people on The View, or I'm just saying, they're saying this, they're putting it out there, and people watching it are being influenced, and they become they're like sheep. Well, I guess this is how I'm supposed to feel, without taking stock of what your situation is. And if you're in a situation where it just doesn't feel right, then absolutely you go what you need to do. But if you're in a harmonious situation, why are you listening to what somebody else thinks who's not happy, right?
You just said the magic word, and we're going to come back to that word, harmony, because people think harmony is something that just exists. But just like love, harmony is an action. You create harmony.
That's correct.
It doesn't just happen. Harmony is not everyone does what I want. Harmony is in the idea of creating balance. I give and someone else gives, and we reach harmony.
Yeah.
Harmony isn't one-sided. Harmony doesn't mean I get everything that I want. Harmony isn't without friction or conflict. Harmony is what you reach even when you have conflict. I'm so glad you said the magic word. It should be like a bell that goes off when you say magic words, Terry. All right, so this is one more. Can you see it?
Oh, yeah.
Women ever played on ourselves?
Oh, did it stop all by itself?
It did.
Why did it do that?
Was making us believe that having it all was limited to having a family and a career.
Why does it keep stopping? So does it play when I'm on the other screen?
I don't know. It's not playing now.
So, but did you see her at all?
A little bit. Yeah.
Okay, so let me hit stop, and then I'm going to hit share, because I think she's really interesting. Anyway.
Both of those things. Newsflash, it's not enough.
Tell me, can you hear it?
Nope, can't hear her.
On ourselves was making us believe that having it all was limited to having a family and a career. I got both of those things. Newsflash, it's not enough. Necesito más.
I don't just want equal pay, I want equal pleasure.
But it would be very threatening if all women wanted and felt like they deserved that, because then a bunch of women wouldn't be available to helping their husbands make their lives as easy as possible. Do you know how much more successful I would be if I had a wife?
Devoted woman by my side who bought a bunch of fruit besides bananas and put the
cover on the duvet.
So I saw that this morning. You heard what she said. So if we all had wives, and for a second, I was like, what? But then I thought about it. What she's talking about is called community. And a long time ago, my mother-in-law, I remember when I had my son, my mother-in-law said, oh man, it was so great. She was talking about how easy it was when she had her kids. But of course, all her sisters lived next door, her mothers, her aunts, and everybody lived together. So when they would do their housework, like they would have all their kids in one house and a couple of them watch kids, but the other one is helping do laundry and the other one was doing this and the other one was doing that. And then they would drink and smoke their little cigarettes and they would like really hang out, right? So, but even my mother would say how her mother got the work done by 10, even dinner was cooking at 10, 11 o'clock. So when her husband, they would say, oh, they think that it takes us all day to do this, but it really didn't. But they could say, oh, they were at home. Like for me, I said, for me, it was easier for me to be at work than to be with my son. That's how I felt, because work is work. You just do that. But your kid is 24 hours. So I felt, but I was also alone. So I felt a lot of overwhelm. It was easier for me to be at work. But what we were missing was the community part.
Right.
And so, no, women, we really don't need wives. We need relationships. And so to use that to say you need a wife, very tricky, the manipulation of what they're saying.
Yeah, and I suppose there's cultural differences as well. Different cultures have different perspectives on life. But I suppose you could always have a maid if you needed some help with things around the house. You could always have somebody who does your grocery shopping. You could always have somebody who does the cleaning. And, so if you choose to, like have that career, but you can't do all the stuff around, then maybe you just decide that, if you can't help me with the laundry and that sort of thing, then we're hiring a maid, and we both put into towards that kind of thing. There's ways of finding harmony. So if you want, like you feel that this is going to, and we got kids, then, I'll take them to piano lessons. You take them to play hockey. There's communication that needs to happen too.
Yeah, the story of us comes to mind because I remember the wife, she said, I have to take care of everything. And Bruce Willis, he said, no one told you that though. That I thought that was the best movie because she didn't like the way he did things, but it was like mom does things one way, dad does things a different way, but kids are happy with both. Mm-hmm. And so his kids really loved him. She just felt like, oh, you're so irresponsible. But then it's a really good movie. I'm just going to say that. It's a really good movie because then I was like, oh, that is true. Because I know I can use my sister, for example. Her husband will help her clean the kitchen, but she doesn't like the fact that every time he does it, he doesn't move the refrigerator like she likes. So I said, well, let him do it the way his way. And then the parts you think he's missing, do the rest, but don't complain because then he won't do it at all. Like if you complain, then he doesn't help you at all, but he is helping. And so there was this, like, get the part that you want. Like no one is going to do it the way you like.
No.
My son's not going to do it the way I like. My sister's not going to do it the way that I like. Like I might want to start. I always start from the laundry room and work my way up. Someone else might start from the front door and work their way back. That's going to be like, have you seen it? Like we just all do things a different way, but like we got to find some type of harmony. So this was some stuff that, boy, when I saw those videos, it
I think one of the things we have to do is if people are willing to help and do things, then we have to stop criticizing because they haven't done it to our standard. We don't like to live up to other people's standard, but they don't have to live up to our standard either. And from my personal experience, when I was young and at home, I was the only daughter, so I was always trying to help my mother out. But
I never made my mom. I never was able to do it to her standards.
I washed and scrubbed the floors because in those days we still did that. And I didn't get to say thank you for doing that. It's like you left too much wax on the floor there. It's like there was never any pleasing, and so you're trying to do it.
But women would have to think about that. Like, have you ever been able to please your mom? So then imagine someone else trying to please you or please your mom. It's always this. My mom has never been pleased. I'm telling you that, if I wear an outfit, she's like, your stomach looks, your foot, your everything. Your makeup's a little off. You should have done this instead of that. Like, no matter what, there's always this one more thing that I could do. I remember one time too, her computer broke and I got her a new computer within 3 days. She said it doesn't have a DVD player on it. And I was like, oh my freaking God, like hang up the phone because I can't with this lady. Like, you just got a new computer.
Yeah.
But I don't know if your old computer had a DVD player on it.
And
I'm not talking about the CD slot. I'm talking about the DVD slot, not the CD slot, but just.
Mine has a DVD, so you can tell my computer's really old.
Oh, wow. Yeah, now they don't even have slots for that at all. So
yeah, I know that.
Like these ones that we have, they don't have slots at all. So we've never been. So just imagine never being able to be in the present, never being able to be pleased, never being able to be happy with what you have. And always, she literally said it. She's like, I always want more. Yeah. And like, I don't know. I just thought it was amazing. So anyway, that was my thought about.
Yeah. Well, and I think we have that. That's just it. There's that like you said, it's a paradox of choice, and I think when we bringing it all back in, we're listening to what other people are saying, and then we're taking it in, and then that propels us forward without really. Because we're being told we need to have this or we need to have that. And like, oh, men, like we don't need men. And it's like, I'm sorry. I want to be around men. I enjoy having men in my life.
Brothers, friends.
I'm not with anybody right now, but I certainly enjoy friendship and all that sort of thing. It doesn't mean I'm hopping into bed with them, but I enjoy having men around and speaking with men, and they have things to contribute that, gosh, I don't want to go out and build roads, just like they don't not interested in me trying to figure out how to dye a shirt. I may use it using red onion skins. Like, that's my thing. Like, we can do things differently, but we can certainly bring stuff together and bring things into balance, harmony. And yeah, like everybody's got a different experience. It doesn't mean that we have to do everything, because then it's not balanced.
Yeah,
it's not balanced that way.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like my dads both brought the compassion and understanding that I needed. Yeah. Where I'm gonna tell you this, because I noticed this too. Like, men, they sympathize with women, so they sympathize and they're like, "Oh, but she did this and she did." And I notice like certain things I see maybe someone do, and I'm like, "She did this," and then a guy will say, "Oh, but she needed this and she did this because," and he'll justify everything a woman does, right? So, but for me, if I can say I can be around my male friend and he can look at a guy and be like, and I'm like, oh, but he's just a guy, and so I'll sympathize in one way, and men will sympathize with us in another way. They'll let us get away with stuff, and then we'll let them get away with stuff. But then there's this whole new movement that's like, no, everybody sucks, I guess. I don't know, where no one has compassion for each other, and gosh. I mean, I don't know. I think that seeps into all communities, but we kind of got to like get our way out of that thinking where we could find anyone just useless. And I had come to the point where I was understanding, like when we look at our fathers and our grandfathers, and we're like, the fact that they could be stoic or sometimes maybe insensitive and things like that, and understand that a lot of them are stoic because we're just acknowledging autism. They've been differently abled. Some of them have post-traumatic stress disorder from just living hard. I've been around some women that can recall when their father has told stories about starving as a child, being in hunger, states of hunger or neglect by a mother or a father, or abuse by a mother or father, or sexual assault. Even when it comes to, sexual assault with men, like we have to understand that the abuses, no one group of people has a patent on suffering or sexual abuse. That we're coming from a time period where life has been hard to a time where things are easier and more abundant. But there has still been lots of trauma and abuse, not just passed down, but men are molested, y'all, by men and women.
Yeah.
So it's like giving them that same compassion that you have for women. Like, women are suffering. Understand that the patriarchy is not your brother and your father. The patriarchy is a system.
Yeah.
Your brother and your husband and your dad are not the patriarchy. So they are not your enemy. They are also victims of the same system that you are a victim of, and they have been abused as well. So the thinkings, their wrong thinking, is a part of the abuse of the system that you are also a part of. So we are not separate in this. We are together suffering in this. Black, white, Asian, Hispanic, man, woman, whatever gender you identify as, all as being pushed together and suffering from the ideals of a system, and not actually use it to make a one person the enemy of you in this system. And I think it's important that we acknowledge that. Like, I really don't think we acknowledge enough the sexual assault and abuse of men and boys, and the fact that they have PTSD and autism and all this neurodivergent stuff going on, so that we don't make any one part of society feel useless.
Yeah.
So I guess this turned into some type of PSA. I don't know if this has anything to do with our cards. Or...
No, I don't know. I don't know. But anyway, hello, Deborah. Hello, Andy. Hello, Megan.
Yeah, I'm so happy you made it too, Deborah.
Yeah. So anyway.
Oh my God. Yeah, her specific hobby now, Terry is taking food to create dye. And I'm like, what made you do that?
Do you know what? I'll change the subject. You know why? Because I bought a beautiful top and it was just the most horrid color. Like it's a skin tone color and it looks like I'm not wearing anything. And so I thought I'm gonna dye this. And so then I got down this rabbit hole on finding how to dye things using specific natural dyes and foods instead of chemicals. So I was a chemist and experimenting all kinds of stuff, and it was like lots and lots of fun.
There you go.
There we go. That's how I got into that.
One to grow on.
Yeah. So now I got this other. Now when the flowers come out, I'm going to use flowers to dye some fabric, and I'm going to see what's going to be. Maybe I'll make some fabulous artwork or new curtains or tablecloth. Who knows? Who knows? That's what life is all about. It's just kind of fun. We find fun things to do. And yeah. So with regard to the cards here,
Huh.
so the first
Probably
one,
has nothing to do with this, y'all. So now we're going on to a new thought, y'all. Oh, there's no forecast. There's no forecast today because we just discussed that
yeah.
long topic.
So I don't know. I think we can bring this in is change. You know, when the ego finally sees the utter madness of trying to control everything, you come to a sacred crossroads in your own evolution. And so maybe what we're talking about today is in fact just exactly that. You know, like we're coming to a crossroads and people are telling us, well, this is what you need, and no, that we want to be this, and it's like you have to go back inside yourself and change to the point where you're going to find harmony within yourself, finding that balance within, not listening to what other people say or what the movement is saying is like you're supposed to be this way. If that's not how you're feeling, then you know what, you have to stand up for yourself and not listen to what is being said out there. You have to go within and just find what is it that within me I need to change. Am I going to be happy with all of that stuff? But it doesn't mean that you have to reject everything that you've been working towards. And it is finding a balance and finding the ability to change within you and say, okay, how do I manipulate? Or how do I maneuver through these situations? And then, you know, when you go to your intuition, each person's road to the inner Lord is extraordinary and personal. How liberating to listen inside and sense moment to moment what's needed. And I think, you know, we're all on this road to. We talk about ascension. We talk about evolution. We have to start listening to our inner voice. And what are we seeing? What are we feeling? What is, are we listening too much to what's being pushed at us through the media, through society, like, and what's behind those thought processes? And where do I want to go as a soul? You know, like, what do I want to experience in life? And everybody's going to be in a different stage, right? In their own evolution. It's like a seed, you know, that's planted in the ground. It's going to sprout, and it depends on when the seed was planted. If the seed was planted in March, or a seed is planted in May, they're not going to grow at the same rate. But it doesn't mean that one is you know, everybody's growth is going to be a little bit different. And you know, what kind of seed have you planted? So we have to use the intuition within ourselves, and like I said, each person's road to the inner Lord is extraordinary and personal. So our roads are different. And grounded, yeah. So many of the most evolved beings on earth are regular folks living with joy, dignity, and courage. And so we just need to ground in, find our space, and just be in harmony and bring down that, you know, ground that energy, bring in that space that we're going to find that personal joy.
You know what I liked about that? Okay, so it says many of the most evolved beings on earth are regular folks.
Yep.
And we're expecting a lot out of people who are just trying to have a human experience. And it's not allowing them to be human because of our expectations, especially when it comes to this thing that we're talking about, of how people are hurt and damaged and they have feelings, and we just have to give compassion and understanding and space to people, allow them to be. And I was thinking the other thing about, regardless of who you are or what your gifts are, there's a thing called common decency and common courtesy. like back in the day, people would say, like, if you were talking about the time when we were talking about abolition of slavery and things like that, it's the decency you would show an animal, the decency you would show a human being, the decency, like regardless of how different a person is, what is the common decency that you would show to another human being? Because there have been people on the planet that have been treated less than an animal, right? If you hurt an animal, everyone raises up and says, oh no, the dog, the cat, the whale. And it's amazing how groups of people can rise up about cats, dogs, and animals, even in this woke agenda. But when it comes to another woman, a person, a straight person, or a man, that whole kumbaya disappears, right? Because they have more compassion for an animal than they do a man. They have more use for a cat or a dog than they do children. Because there's some people who, you know, they call people breeders, and they're putting out that energy that thing that they're a part of is better than all the other things, and we should destroy all the other things and focus on the thing that we are. Basically, the abused rising up to become the abuser and discredit anything that is, you know, anything that seems to be a part of the past or a part of an established.
Well, and just like you were saying, waking the trauma, you know, like people who are suffering from trauma will quite often perpetuate the trauma.
Right.
And that's I mean, you know, having worked through the systems and stuff, you see that over and over again. People who have had the trauma, if they haven't healed it, they will, you know, perpetuate it. So yes, we do need to do, there's a lot of healing that has to be done in that area.
I like that card the most. It's common courtesy, common decency, common respect. Just compassion and removing your expectations, and the fact that you do not have any patent on suffering. No one person owns all suffering, and it's really not a good idea to compare your suffering to someone else's suffering, because many are suffering and we're all in it together trying to grow.
Exactly.
And each person's road to the inner Lord is an extraordinary and personal one. How liberating to listen inside to the sense moment to moment what's needed. To me, that would be that magic word that you used, harmony.
Yeah.
From moment to moment, what do we need, and addressing it. And using our intuition to address it, but finding harmony and balance inside yourself. So
yeah,
I'm hoping that this was a good message for y'all, because these were just some videos that popped up. I mean, last night I was like, what? Boy, people really are.
Yeah. And just exactly the eclipse, and I think I posted it on the Telegram, is the eclipse is giving us extra energy for that seed to sprout. And, you know, like, we're being pushed. I mean, the universe is pushing us and sending us energy. Like, we can see it with the sun. We can see it with the solar flares. We can see it with all of this stuff. And it's like, we're just being, you know, like, propelled forward. So
I'll say what's really cool though. This weekend I met a bunch of really cool people. Like, one day I got to be on a movie set and we were recording, and there was all these beautiful people, men, women, genders diverse, races diverse, and no one was acting like that. Like that video. No one was touting this nonsense. So what's really cool is, as I'm beginning to go out certain places and meet new people, I'm seeing that this isn't majority. These videos aren't the majority. I really feel like these people are the loud minority.
Yeah.
And they're recruiting for their agenda. And it's not how everyone feels. But the thing about us is, as the silent majority, we need to actually be more vocal and stamp out the madness and, kind of stop some of this stuff in its tracks. Because, it's so funny. The people who really do want power usually are not the ones that are the best suited for it. And the people who actually want to just get along and be kind and be nice and be social, those people usually don't want any kind of power at all, right?
Right.
So unfortunately, the negative element seeks attention and power, and therefore they can taint the whole bunch, and they can tank it for all of us. So we do need to rise up in our speech and our voice to stamp out some of the nonsense and speak positivity and speak truth and speak light in situations where so these voices can't take over. I was asked in one of my classes, would I be willing to work at Disney? And I said, yes, I actually would. And so my instructor and I, we were discussing the fact that people think that you can protest a thing and leave it and abandon it completely, but then you leave all the bad apples to take over the bunch. Even when I was in church, they said they wanted all the people to leave the military. And it was like, well, what if there was no positive voices left in the military? Wouldn't it make it worse? Like, you're really supposed to, like, as good people, as good spiritual people, you think that you're supposed to all be together. And actually, no, you're supposed to go out amongst people who actually need you, not necessarily just sitting around the choir and listen to the choir preach to the choir.
Yeah.
You're supposed to go out into the places where light is needed and share light in the places that are dark. That's what your job is to do, right? That's
like the lighthouse. It doesn't work unless it's a storm, and you don't have a bunch of lighthouses together. You got a lighthouse that's in the middle of the storm to show its light. So that's exactly what we have to do. It's like you can't, and you're not going to make change you've got to do it from within, not from throwing stuff at it. You've got to be the reason for change.
Yeah, light is supposed to shine in dark places.
Yeah.
So I was like, no, I am willing, even though sometimes you think like, ugh, it's not going to be the easiest. But you know, and it's easy to be a saint inside your house, right?
That's right. But you go into the dark.
Zen. I could be a Zen Buddhist inside my living room, but if I go out to the grocery store, am I going to take the Zen with me to the grocery store?
Yeah, never mind the grocery store. How about on the freeway? Are you taking the Zen with you?
Sometimes, no, not on the freeway. No. Oh gosh, I have choice words on the freeway.
Yeah, we all do. And then I come back and say, "Damn, that wasn't very enlightened, was I?"
Yeah. Well, I enjoyed that, and I'm glad you enjoyed it. Leave us some thumbs up, leave us some likes and some shares, y'all, and let us know that you received the message, enjoyed the message. Oh my gosh, she said she has Tourette's on the on the freeway. I know. I think I've scared my son so much that he doesn't want to drive. I'm like, today I told him, I said, you need to get you a driver's license.
Oh. So we'll do some readings on Telegram. So join us there.
She said, what was this message about? So we did, we were discussing, good night. We were just discussing some of the negative messages that separate to say men are useless or parts of our society are useless, and just attacking that kind of rhetoric and just, breaking that down, that is absolute nonsense. Like, We are a country or a people or a planet that has worked together, the balance of the masculine and feminine. The woman is the imagination, and the man is literally the physical extension of our imagination and our creativity. That in the beginning, women taught through the sound and song and the voice, and we nurtured. And yes, man is an extension of us, an extension of how we get things done on this planet. And so you might not want to be coupled with a man, but let's not go around to say that a man is useless on our planet. There are things that men do, the dirty jobs that I would not do. But I think we've come to a place of plenty where now we have so much abundance that we can discount all the paved roads and the roofs and the houses and what has been done, or just during hurricanes and earthquakes, how we do need this strength and extension, this muscle. And sometimes there is an anger or a discipline or a strength that a man provides, that it is the balance. These things, oh, it's cutting out. There's a balance, these things that we're doing here. So hopefully you can rewind and check the message out and hopefully maybe hear it better. But there's a balance. There's a balance to this place that doesn't say we need an all male or all female planet, but we work here together. And we all have our own purpose. You know, the autistic people, the dyslexic people, the, everyone differently able, the psychic people, the not so psychic people.
Yeah.
They say like everybody can't be a chief. Somebody has to have a follower. We can't all be the leader. Some of us are the followers, and some of us are the givers, and some of us are the takers, and some of us are, like we all have different a different purpose here.
Yeah.
So there was a card reading and we read some cards. So if you'd like to check that out. But we're going to go now into the Women of the Stars group chat. Let's see, Women of the Stars group chat. I'll put that up here. And Terry?
Yes.
No, I'm just kidding. We're going to go to do the individual readings in the group chat.
Yeah. We'll see you next time, or see you over on Telegram.
Let's see. We're going to do our sexy video.
That's right.